All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. We're going to unpack venture capitalist Joe Lonsdale's absolutely fascinating take on how AI is completely reshaping our timeline, our politics, and honestly, our entire future. Look, we're all hearing a ton of noise about artificial intelligence right now, but Lonsdale offers this really structured way of looking at exactly what's happening under the hood of this whole technological revolution.
So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at how we're condensing decades of progress. Second, we'll dive into the ideological battle. Third, navigating the regulation trap. And finally, confronting the AGI horizon.
All right, Section 1, condensing decades of progress. Let's get right into it. Lonsdale has this really wild way of visualizing time right now. He points out that we aren't just moving fast anymore. We're actually taking the expected progress of the 2020s, the 2030s, and the 2040s, and violently condensing all of that innovation into just the next few years. It's crazy to think about, but we are essentially living through multiple years of technological evolution in a single calendar year. And aviation is a perfect example to illustrate the immediate physical impact of AI. Because, it's not just about chatbots or generating text, it's about the physical world we live in. Lonsdale points out that the aviation industry has been practically stuck for like 60 years. Nobody really thought massive changes were coming anytime soon. But suddenly AI is completely revitalizing it, and the mechanics of how it's doing this are just staggering. Think about it. For decades, the industry just couldn't get hydrogen fuel cells working on planes. Now, thanks to AI problem solving, they're actually functioning. Lonsdale explains that these fuel cells are 3 times more efficient per weight and 2 times more efficient per energy conversion. So boom, that makes them a massive 6 times more efficient as a flying fuel. Then you combine that with brand new aerodynamic shapes, designs we've dreamt about for years but literally could never properly test until AI came along, which are themselves multiple times more efficient. So when you actually do the math on this, multiplying a 6 times efficiency gain in fuel by a conservative 3 times efficiency gain in aerodynamics, the result is an 18 times multiplier. 18! We are looking at planes that are fundamentally revolutionized. Lonsdale argues this is going to promise incredibly cheap, highly efficient air travel for basically everyone in the 2030s. It's just a prime example of how AI is actively making the real world profoundly better. But of course, it's not all smooth sailing. That brings us to Section 2, the ideological battle for AI. Now, Lonsdale raises a really deep concern here regarding ideological capture. He specifically fears a scenario where AI models are strictly governed by a single perspective. He uses the term woke authoritarian to describe a potential future where a monolithic ideology is just hard-coded into the AI, effectively ruling against differing beliefs. In his view, having this kind of monoculture of thought is a highly, highly dangerous outcome for society. Which brings us to the concept of the Overton window. Basically, the range of policies politically acceptable to the mainstream. Lonsdale actually praises Elon Musk's XAI for actively shifting this window. In Lonsdale's analysis, having a player like Musk in the field pushes the entire industry toward a more rational baseline. He argues it prevents the tech from being entirely captured by just one side of the political spectrum, ensuring we keep that necessary diversity of thought in how these super powerful tools are developed. He goes on to map out some very specific ideological critiques of the major AI players today. He argues that OpenAI has essentially been conquered by the left. He does view Anthropic with some respect. He acknowledges they push back against certain departments, but he notes they still contain leftist elements. And then finally, he sees XAI as the necessary counterweight, pushing the industry back toward rationality. Now, regardless of where you personally fall on the political spectrum, Lonsdale's core argument here is just that diverse, highly competitive models are an absolute necessity if you want to avoid a biased, authoritarian AI ecosystem. And all of that political tension bleeds right into Section 3, navigating the regulation trap. Lonsdale draws a super clear line between what he considers good versus bad regulation. For instance, he points to figures like Senator Blackburn, totally agreeing with her push to protect kids, enforce privacy rules, and shield creators from malicious deepfakes. He is all for that. He fully supports it as basic, civilized national regulation. But he draws a sharp, unforgiving line against the alternative, which he claims makes up the vast majority of our current system. 9 million. Let that sink in for a second. That staggering number represents the 9 million words of regulation that exist per individual state in America. 9 million. Lonsdale argues that this isn't about safety at all. Instead, it's a bureaucratic nightmare systematically designed by massive, entrenched companies to crush small competitors and stop innovative startups from disrupting their business models. And he says the proof is right there in the licensing. Lonsdale points out that out of 1,000 different types of business licenses, only 50 of them are actually required in every single state. That is just 5%. The other 95%, they're completely arbitrary depending on where you live. For him, this proves that the vast majority of these regulations exist purely to protect established guilds and local monopolies rather than having anything whatsoever to do with actual public safety.
He actually points to the healthcare sector as the ultimate tragic warning here. In healthcare, tens of millions of dollars have to be spent simply navigating endless rules just to get off the ground. Because of this massive hurdle, entirely new, more efficient AI solutions are blocked from ever reaching the market. And the result? Skyrocketing costs, where the middle and working classes suffer the absolute most, all because competition has been artificially regulated right out of existence.
Now, what I find truly striking here is Lonsdale's candid admission. He openly acknowledges that complex regulations actually benefit wealthy, established founders, exactly like him. I mean, he has the capital to hire the armies of lawyers required to navigate those 9 million words of red tape. He could easily use regulation to enrich himself even further, but he argues fiercely against it because he sees firsthand how this system fundamentally crushes any new, innovative thing that's just trying to compete in the free market.
So, with the immediate tech and regulatory hurdles laid out, let's look at the distant horizon. Section 4, confronting the AGI horizon.
Okay, this is the existential elephant in the room. With industry titans like NVIDIA's Jensen Huang stating that massive foundational breakthroughs are literally already here, Lonsdale directly addresses the ultimate question. Did we just build a deity? Are we creating a new god? To really understand this, we've got to define our terms. The whole debate right now hinges on the difference between AGI, artificial general intelligence, which generally matches human-level reasoning, and ASI, artificial superintelligence. ASI is that terrifying tipping point where a system becomes more intelligent than all of humanity combined, capable of achieving things none of us could ever do together.
So the question is, how worried should we actually be? Well, while Lonsdale totally acknowledges the genuine sci-fi sounding threat of a superintelligence taking over, he places that as more of a 10 to 20-year problem. His immediate fear, the thing that literally keeps him up at night right now, is not the machine itself, it's how deeply flawed humans are going to misuse this immense power in the present day. Ultimately, Lonsdale views AI today not as some all-knowing deity to be feared, but as a crucial, unparalleled analytical tool. He argues that we must actively embrace it. In fact, we desperately need a wide variety of these AI companies and tools so we can analyze, understand, and safeguard ourselves against whatever is coming next in our rapidly condensing future.
Which leaves us right here. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. We are violently condensing the innovation of the 2020s, 30s, and 40s right into the present moment. The tools to completely rebuild our physical and digital future are already sitting right here in our hands. But given our ideological tribalism and our clearly broken regulatory systems, the real question is, are our politics, our laws, and our human nature actually prepared to wield this godlike tool responsibly?